Okay, I'm going to try to give a quick review of everything that's on the test coming up for Algebra 2. So the first thing on the test is going to be graphing quadratics in standard form. So we start out by finding the x-coordinate of the vertex. You do that by doing negative b over 2a. And in this case, that's negative 4. So the opposite sign would be positive 4 over 2 times a is 2. Just be careful about plugging this into your calculator if you really need to. But 2 times 2 on the bottom is 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So that's the x-coordinate of the vertex. And I also have the axis of symmetry now, which is x equals 1. So I plug that in for x, and both these x's plug in 1, and that comes out negative 1, which is the y-coordinate of the vertex. So at this point, I'm going to put it into vertex form real quick. You can do this at the end if you want to. But I have all the information I need. So I start out with a, so a is 2. Then x, the opposite of the x-coordinate, so minus 1 in this case, squared, and then actual of the y. There's vertex form. Okay, to come up with your table of values, put the vertex in the middle. Go up 1, down 1, up another, down 1. And don't forget about the symmetry when you plug in. So I'd rather plug in 0, that's the y-intercept, you should know that as well, which is 1, so this is 1. If I go ahead, I'll plug in 3. If I plug in 3 for x, that'll come out 9. And this is 9. And then I would plot those, and that's how you graph it. Okay, moving on. The next thing is factoring. This is a pretty big section of the test. So there's a whole factoring playlist if you need specific help, but in general, look for a GCF. Then decide if it's a binomial, a trinomial, or a 4-term polynomial. If it's a binomial, see if it is a difference of squares. If it's 4-term polynomial, try grouping. And if it's a trinomial, then pay attention to if it's a simple trinomial. When a is 1, then you're finding 2 factors of c that add to b. Or if it's the more complex version where a doesn't equal 1, and that is master product. And eventually master product turns back into grouping. So it's a real quick recap of what you should be doing when you factor. Here's some examples to think about. Don't forget to factor out a GCF. Look for that first, which is the case here. And then you had a difference of squares. And then right here you have another difference of squares. Remember, this doesn't change at all because it's not even a difference of squares. Over here, you factor out a GCF of 2. And now it's a simple trinomial. It's 2 factors of c that add to b. So make sure you're looking for GCF in the beginning. And be careful because things might factor further. Okay, the next thing on the test is solve by factoring. So the most important part of this to start out is bring everything to one side, so 0 is on the other side. And so on this problem I would have subtracted 3x, and then I would have had this equals 0, now factor. So if you had something factored already, after you factor it, all you do is you take each factor and set each one equal to 0 and solve. Because when you have 2 things multiplied to equal 0, you know that at least one of them has to equal 0. So there are my 2 answers here. Okay, moving on. Solve by completing the square. Look at the other videos on here. Remember, there's 3 tiers of difficulty on the test. The first tier is when b is even, so there's no fractions. And then b is odd, so there is fractions. And the last one is a does not equal 1. So make sure you know how to do all 3s, and there's videos of that. And the last thing on the test is vertical motion, which can be modeled with a quadratic equation. So just remember that when they give you the function that the x is time, it might be t, and the y is the height. So they're going to ask questions about what's the highest point that the object you throw in the air gets to. That's obviously at the vertex. So you get the vertex. The x-coordinate of the vertex represents how long it takes to get to the top, and the y-coordinate will represent how high it went. So finding the vertex is the same procedure as when you're graphing. So that's actually a very easy question because you already know how to do that. All right, some review material that's on here. Transformations of quadratics from last unit. Don't forget about the parent points. Here are the parent points for quadratics. Negative 2, 4, negative 1, 1, 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 4. You're just squaring all the x's. And notice the symmetry just like we have with the other form. So in this problem we have opposite of the x, so x plus 1, and on the outside 5y minus 3, so I add 1 to all these x coordinates. And I multiply all these y coordinates by 5 and subtract 3. Again, notice the symmetry that's still there. So you graph those and that's it. And then finally, find the equation of a line once again. Just do find the slope first, 17 minus 3, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1 minus a negative, that makes it a plus. So you get 14 over 7, which is 2. Now that I have the slope, here's point slope form, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So I'm going to choose this point because I want to avoid the negative. So y minus 17 equals 2 times x minus 5. If they just ask for the equation, then you can stop there. But if they ask for it in slope-intercept form, distribute. And add 17 to both sides. And you get y equals 2x plus 7. So there's a little review for the test. Hopefully that helped you, and good luck.